at some point it has to become inexcusable. You know, whenever they fire people and they put as the official reason you're firing someone is because performance that may affect the image of the series. Okay, whenever they fire someone and it says that as the official reasoning, even though that wasn't the official reasoning, whenever they say that, okay, you know, whatever, tell me what I did.
Well, that was your reason. That's what. Are you saying that's what they said?
That was the reasoning. Yep.
Okay.
You know, and whenever I asked what I did, the reply was, "We just don't mesh." Okay, well, I didn't know that was a reason to be fired, but hey, whatever. You know, and another thing, not to sound like the disgruntled ex-employee, because you know it was a year ago, so whatever, it is what it is. You know, people didn't look at it as in the whole. They didn't look at the whole story. Because what they need to remember is I was a salaried employee, tech director. My wife worked for the series as a salaried employee, as an administrative assistant. My son worked for the series on a per-race contract. 3 of the 4 of us that lived in that command center and traveled all over the country were all employed by the same place. And when they fired me, they also fired my son. And 2 days later, they fired my wife. So I think what people failed to realize through the whole situation is, here I am, as a father, whatever, as the breadwinner of the family. Our whole family dynamic changed immediately with basically a stroke of a pen by a gentleman that we just didn't mesh. That seriously, like. So, yeah, was I pissed? Absolutely. Why wouldn't I be? Like, you just changed my entire life because of a shit decision because we don't mesh. Like, yeah, of course I'm disgruntled. But is that why I went on Twitter in December and started calling out some of the shit that went on? No, that's not why. It's because I wanted to make people aware of some of the shit that went on. Like, you know, we put the media in the sport puts people on. They can either put people on pedestals or they can tear them apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they can do. They have the power to do that because they reach people. People listen to them to get the latest news, the latest gossip, the latest breaking stuff, whatever the case may be. And they can either elevate people or completely knock people down. So,
and for what reasons we don't know. Potentially financial, buddy systems. Usually, it's the same case, but.
Yeah, whatever the reasoning is, who knows? But, you know, you elevate certain people and people don't live up to their expectations. And there's other people, for instance, like myself, when I came out with all that stuff, there was pretty much every outlet for racing, news outlet, pretty much except you. I did watch your show on that. Pretty much blew it off and basically, you know, labeled me as a disgruntled employee. I'm out to get somebody. I'm out to get somebody fired. Nope, that wasn't it. But here's the thing. So whenever all that stuff happened, I had 40-some owners, crew chiefs, or drivers reach out to me. Text, phone calls, private message, whatever. They all reached out to me, and they're like, so proud of you. You had the balls to say something. This stuff needs to be fixed. This stuff needs to be addressed. Okay, that's great. That makes me feel good. Okay, so I did this, and everybody's tearing me apart on the internet because I'm just some angry, disgruntled employee, and I had every right to be a disgruntled, angry employee, ex-employee, I guess. But, you know, you got race teams reaching out to you. I had a car owner call me. We were on the phone for an hour. They actually have a notebook that they write all this shit down in. That everything that goes wrong, you know, like people know this stuff is happening, but not one of those people, and this was the disappointing part, not one of those people come out publicly
right
and back me with it. Not one of them. Like,
well, they see you as the crucifixion. They don't want to become. They don't want to be exiled. They don't want a target on their back.
And that's exactly the thing, because I had a crew chief. There's a crew chief that's out there. He used to call me every week. And after I got fired, he'd call me every week, and he'd be like, "Oh, son of a bitch! They did this, they did that, they did this." And finally, one day, I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to hear it. Like, why don't you say something? You guys have the power. Like, you guys have the power. Say something." Well, they don't want to be labeled. They don't want to be. They don't want to. You know, whenever I
get told about 10 times a month. You know, one day, Chaz, after I ain't got to worry about my money and my stature, blah blah blah, we're gonna do a show, and I'm gonna tell you everything that's going on. You know, it's the biggest cop out in the world.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's not the way it should be. That's not the way it should be.
But that's the reason it is the way it is.
Yeah.
But that is the reason.
Yep. Yeah,
it's pretty messed up.
And it's disappointing. And there was even some drivers. There was even a few drivers that obviously, you know, went to the internet, you know, on their podcasts or just in an interview or whatever, and decided that, you know, they'd make an ass out of me, and it was just not cool. And it's like, you know, you guys know this shit. Like, what are you doing?
They're trying to click up. They're trying to advance their status in the racing world, and that's how you do it. Yeah,
I guess.
You know,
I guess. So here's the bottom line, and this is where I see things. Bottom line is, you got all this exposure. You have a new fan base. You have sprint car racing on TV. You got elevated purses. You got franchise systems. You got stars of the sport. You got all these traveling teams. Okay, you got all this great stuff. So you're attracting new fans. You're attracting a lot of attention, and not only from fans, but say car owners. You know, you got people that are looking at this going, "Man, this is pretty badass." Like, you know, people with money, people that may be interested in getting involved with the sport. So if I'm one of them people, or if you're one of them people, and you say, "You know what? I want to own a sprint car team. I have a company. I'm 60 years old. I got plenty of retirement money. I'm going to go have some fun.
Right. I'm
going to buy a sprint car team." What makes you want to buy a sprint car team? Because if you watch the things as they currently are, if I'm a millionaire, whatever, and I'm interested in buying a sprint car team, and I see some of the things that go on, and how they're kind of pushed to the side and forgotten about, I'm not going to go spend $1 million in this deal. Like, if I want, as a car owner, I want to know that if I buy all the best equipment, just like everybody else has, I hire a good crew chief, I hire a badass driver, that whenever I pull into that racetrack, I got just as much chance of winning as the guy leading the points or whoever. Okay, my shit's, there's no difference between my shit and your shit. I have an equal chance here. That's the way it should be. Like, the way it currently is, I don't see how that happens. I don't see how people can justify, you know, "Hey, I'm getting into sprint car racing because it's badass. You know, I'm going to spend $1 million, but they're going to let this guy slip through tech."
Right.
You know, like what's drawing? Yeah, you're drawing new fans. What's drawing new car owners? What's drawing new sponsors? Because all this stuff, negative stuff, has an effect. And I'm just not talking about a national series. I'm talking about it I don't care if it's a local racetrack. Like, if some businessman walks into a local racetrack and he wants to invest in that racetrack, and that night the winner doesn't make weight and they let him go, and there's this big controversy, why in the hell would you want to invest in that racetrack?
Right.
Like, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And that's the stuff, whenever you talk about elevating the sport, that you need to elevate it on a whole, and that's all part of it. Like, if you're going to take the responsibility on and use the word elevate, we're going to elevate the sport, we're going to change the sport, well, then do it. Like, you put that responsibility on yourself, now it's your responsibility to do it in all aspects.
Yeah.
Right.
To do it.
You know, and that's where, again, I'm not involved in sprint car racing. I've pretty much been blackballed. Like, all that shit in December, I had racetracks, officials, touring series officials, like, people used to text me all the time. Shit, they all went silent. And I think that's because they don't want to be associated with the guy that is telling the truth. And I swear to God, on a stack of Bibles.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah. I swear to God, on a stack of Bibles, there's nothing I'm saying that's false. Like, absolutely nothing. And there's more than that. And I haven't like I haven't said everything that even goes on, and it's really discouraging because, you know, and my wife all the time, she's like, Kevin, why? Well, why are you going on the Chaz show? Well, why? And I'm like, because this is all I've ever done all my life. Like, every job I've ever had in my life has revolved around racing. Like, and if it didn't fit into my racing schedule, I didn't work there. Like, it's just what I've done for 52 damn years. Like, and I want to see the sport grow. I don't, like I said, I don't have anything against High Limit. I love what they're trying to do. I don't have nothing against the World of Outlaws. Like, they are the gold standard. So, but there's room for two, but you got to do it right. No matter which side you're on, you know, you got to do it right. And that's where people are falling a little short, and that's really disappointing. And honestly, that's why I'm on here. That's why I tweeted what I did. Like, people got to grow balls and speak up for themselves, and that's just how it is. And if you're going to get called on a jump start because you come out and you question a call that deserves to be questioned, well, that's not on you. That's on the guy that is doing the calling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and if people are going to say they're passionate about the sport, what you're describing right now should be the number one thing to do with that passion, because these are the things that are ultimately going to make it elevate or degrade.